Yes. Let's try not to use those right now. Okay, so we're going to be drawing a memory map of the Western Hemisphere, because that's what we're covering this year, is the Western Hemisphere. Now, it's not necessarily cheating for us to talk about the fact that North and South America are in the Western Hemisphere. We talked about that on the day we talked about the syllabus. So we'll be drawing North and South America. We also talked about the fact that we live in North America. So we're going to start off your map making with an area that you're a little bit familiar with at least. Now, since we have just North and South America, and in our general mapping traditions, North is up and South is down, my first tip is that you draw in portrait mode. Not landscape, but portrait. So I would draw up and down like that. That's the way it's going to fit best. Okay? Another tip I have for you is to do a rough draft. And here's what I mean by that. I would take your paper and I would have it in portrait mode. Okay? And I would try to figure out, where do those two continents go in? How do they fit? Here's the problem that you run into if you don't do this step. What we know best is where we live, right? So many times I'll go around watching as you draw your memory maps, and I might see something that looks like that, and it takes up almost all of your paper.
It looks so awesome.
I know, that's an awesome picture of the United States, isn't it?
I can actually see what they're in.
So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we fit all of North America and South America on our map. So on my rough draft side, I want to make sure that I say, okay, so I've got to fit North America in, and it's got to be about like that, and I know South America's got to be about like that. Now I know when I start drawing, I can't make the United States that big, because the whole continent of North America has to be that big. And South America still has to fit down here somewhere. So I would do certainly no more than 1 or 2 minutes on your rough draft. Just trying to figure out a rough idea of how big they are and what size and shape a little bit. 1 or 2 minutes. Then after that, you turn over your map onto the good side and you start drawing the best you can. Okay? Now, during the whole time, I'm going to have this list up here. And it's a list of ideas for you to be drawing on your map. You're going to start off, I'm sure, drawing the continents, because we start with the biggest and go to the smallest. So you start with your continents. And the way that our globe works, whatever's not land is probably water. So whatever's not a continent probably is hooked to an ocean. And you can divide that down maybe into some gulfs or bays. It says rivers and lakes. Well, you guys know some rivers and lakes. You know of at least one river that recently flooded very badly and wrecked a bunch of homes around here. You also know another river that's in our country that's kind of fun to spell when you rhyme it. Okay? You also know of 5 great big lakes because of where you live. You know a lot of things like that. You've been places. A lot of you have maybe been to Mackinac, or you've been to the UP, or you've been to Disney World, or you've been to, I don't know, somewhere else, anywhere you've been. You know a lot of places. Okay? So what I want you to not do, I want you to stop worrying about what you do not know. I've been teaching the class for over 20 years, and I couldn't draw a perfect Western Hemisphere map from memory. There would be things that I would forget or not know. I don't expect yours to be perfect. I expect it to be an example of what you do know. Okay? You know a lot of things. You just need to relax a moment and let your mind be okay with knowing what you know. I mean, just the things that I mentioned. When I said that we were going to draw the Western Hemisphere, were you guys thinking of those things that I just mentioned? Probably not. You were thinking all of a sudden, oh, I don't know where Bolivia is. I don't know how to draw Brazil. I don't know where, don't think about that. Don't worry about that. Think about this. Okay? Now the other thing is, I've been doing this for many, 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 many years, and all the sixth graders come in and they're a little bit nervous and apprehensive, and they all look like you do right now, and every one of them survive it. And every one of them does fine. Because what I'm looking for is, what do you know? You're not competing with everybody else in the class, you're competing with you. Okay? So don't get all freaked out, relax a bit, and then just start trying to put as many things down on the paper as you can possibly figure out. Okay? If it's not in the exact right spot, that's okay. The fact that you put it down means a lot. Don't forget things like when we're doing lakes and rivers and things like that and mountains. I've seen some people who will, they know that there's a forest, and like maybe a national forest or a state forest. So they shade that in. So those of you who have colored pencils, maybe you can make color keys or something like that. If you're going to color your map, do it because it makes it better, not because it makes it prettier. Okay? You're going to work on this for the rest of the hour. At the end of the hour, I'll tell you when you're done, and we'll turn them in order. Okay? So this is not something you take home. You've got from now to the end of the hour, and that's what we want to see, is how much can you do from now to the end of the hour. That's the idea of it. When you think you're done, look at the list again and say, can I think of one more city? Can I think of one more state? Could I think of one more river to go on? Just keep thinking of one more. Keep doing it until I tell you you're all done. Okay? Then we'll turn them in order, and that'll be it for our memory map. Question?
Well, it's kind of common. Can I say my comment?
Sure, yeah.
So I lost my camera at, on the flood things at Sample.
Yeah? You lost a camera?
Yeah, camper.
Oh, your camper.
Yeah. And, recently I actually saw it and it was, busted out.
Oh, so it was smashed along the side of the river somewhere? Or?
Not on the side of it. It was, tilted on the side.
That was a pretty destructive flood, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was a big deal. Has anyone been across Sanford Lake lately? We drove across just the other day, across the bridge on 10, right? Great big field, right? Just a big green field now with a little tiny trickle going through it. So, yeah. Oh man, yeah, it was a ton of destruction, that's for sure. Yeah. Wixom. So they were on the right side of the lake that everything drained away from them. Yeah. All right, we're going to get started now, and we're going to treat it like a test in the far as I don't want you looking on each other's papers or talking or showing or asking questions to each other. Just do the best you can do, and then when we get done, we'll turn them in. All right? Go ahead and get started.
Is this like a test?